Good morning and welcome to Morning Brew on Hughes of the World, my new channel. It's the old channel, just changed the name again. But, novelty is the spice of life, I like to believe. My name's Graham Hughes, obviously, and you can find me anywhere online at grahamdavidhughes.com or at Graham David Hughes. It works on Facebook, it works on Blue Sky, it works on Threads, it works on Instagram, it works on pretty much anything. Just type in Graham David Hughes, all one word, and you should be able to find me. Okay, talking about finding people, look who we've found this morning. We found Veg Pie. Hello, Veg Pie. We found Diz, found Billy Kershaw, found Jenny Robinson, L Butterfly Effect, Sarah Davis. We've got Martin Harrow in there as well, and others, Colin Thompson. Hello. Good morning and welcome to one and all. All I want to say to you is thank you very much for joining us and getting onto the chat. Now, if you're a lurker and you like just lurking in the background, you don't have to do this, but if you hit the subscribe button and wait for a minute, you can add your opinions to what we're talking about this morning. And the thing that we're talking about this morning, I just want to make this very clear, is that I was right. I was right. You would do well to listen to me in matters very serious, when it comes to like politics and the interconnectivity of it all, and logistics in particular is an area of my expertise, but not academic expertise necessarily, but lived experience. And people are quite obsessed with their lived experiences. That gammony fuckwit who voted for Brexit because he had a fight round the back of a Bernie's Inn once in the late 80s, and from then on he went to the School of Hard Knocks, the University of Life. There you go, experience of having the same job throughout his entire life and having an average house price of £20,000 like we did. In the year I was born, in 1979, the average house price was £20,000. Just let that sit for a moment. Yeah. Anyway, I was right. And I'm furious about it. I'm absolutely furious about the fact that I was right, because I've been banging on about carbon capture being a con for fucking years. 4 years I've been saying, carbon capture, how does that work? Explain it to me. That makes no sense. Hey, listen, I'm not a scientist, but I surround myself with scientists, and I say to the scientists in my life, hey, how does this work? In the same way, if I want to know something about chemistry, I ask my friends who literally do chemistry as a job because they've got a PhD in it. If I want to know about physics, I either ask Catherine, my partner, who has a PhD in physics, or maybe I'll talk to Phil about it, who's a physics teacher. If I want to know about medicine, I talk to my many friends who are GPs and also specialists, pediatricians, and things like that about, vaccines and how things work and how does that work? How does that? Just ask them. Just ask the people who do the thing how it fucking works, right? Don't rely on stupid bloody memes that you see on the internet going, oh, we're going to capture the carbon. How? How? Explain to me how that process works, okay? Explain to me like I'm an idiot. Go on. They can't. Because it doesn't fucking work. It never has done, never will do. I'm not psychic. I don't have a secret dossier. For me, this never passed the sniff test. Like, I just looked at it and went, carbon capture? Carbon capture? Are you freaking kidding me? Anyway, if anyone wants to celebrate with me in my misery of being right, completely right about this bullshit that was paid for by the oil companies, no doubt, in order to greenwash away the actual things that we actually needed to do. But do not worry, I do have some good news at the end of this. But if you want to celebrate with me the fact I was right, then all you need to do is hit the super chat button and give a super chat. Now we get 5 super chats of any colour, any flavour. That means any amount of money. I think the least you can give is $1. Although if you're enterprising, I'm sure you give $1 Zimbabwe dollar, which would be worth like 50 billionth of a penny. But yeah, any flavour is good, and that keeps the channel alive. Well, it keeps me alive, which keeps the channel alive. Think about it. So yes, you want to capture carbon, you grow trees, and you keep the trees there, and you let them rot and make new trees. Yeah, fella. And you don't just knock them down. You don't just grow them and then cut them down, because then you end up with a monoculture and you end up with no biodiversity, because nothing can actually roost or live in the burrow into the trees. Nothing can live there because the tree's only there for a couple of years and then you knock the fucking thing down. So yeah, absolutely. Has anyone seen the Dr. A doctor in long white and red robes with a glowing hand. Yeah, Dr. Jesus, Dr. Donald Jesus Trump, who put a picture out of himself as Jesus and then said, oh no, I thought it was a doctor because doctors have glowing hands. Well, do you know what? He's probably getting radiotherapy for his fucking brain cancer. So, I mean, maybe the doctors do have glowing hands where he goes to the Walter Reed Medical Center. I don't know. Started paying for YouTube after a month of freebie. Game Changer says, veg pie. Are we complaining about the ads? Yeah, possibly. But yeah, thanks for watching. Anyone who's actually subscribed to YouTube, please watch all of my stuff. Just turn it on and walk away. You don't even have to listen to the nonsense coming out of my mouth. Just leave it on. And then I'll get money because you're a paid subscriber to YouTube and they measure like what channels you watch and how long you watch it for. So you don't have to look at it. It doesn't track your eyes. And smells like clean coal, says Suzanne Casey. You're absolutely right, Suzanne. I mean, you couldn't hit the nail on the head there. Smells like clean coal, which was the B-side of Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana. So yeah, this is look, carbon capture. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about BECCS, right? Bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, right? Not a climate policy. It was just a delay tactic. It was a corporate conglomeration company fucking comfort blanket. It was, and now, shock horror, the flagship projects are collapsing or have collapsed. The numbers don't add up, and the so-called solution has turned out to be worse than doing nothing. Let me make that very clear. So not only is carbon capture bollocks, it's actually made a very, very bad situation worse. And the reason they have done this, the real why the oil companies have done this, and we can draw this on a graph so everyone can fucking understand, right? Or we can draw it on a whiteboard. Here we go. Okay, so the oil companies have got lots of money, but that's not enough. They want more money. So they're taking money from governments to subsidize biofuel with carbon capture, to subsidize green hydrogen, even though only a small percentage of the hydrogen created is actually green. The vast majority, 95% of it, is created using fossil fuels, which is good for the oil companies. So the oil companies get this extra money. What do they spend it on? They spend it on making sure that they accelerate the effects of climate change. Now, why would oil companies want to accelerate the rate of climate change? I'll tell you why. One, so they can go and drill for more oil in the Arctic where they couldn't get to before because there was too much permafrost. So they get rid of the permafrost, they can drill for the oil. Great, jobs are good. But the other reason, which is even more fucking fucked up and evil, and this is why, you know, when we talk about the transition away from fossil fuels at the end of the internal combustion engine as we know it, and we're going to move to electricity-fired cars, powered cars, EVs. They want to accelerate climate change because they know that it will create more refugees. Okay? Create more. So you get a little arrow. You've got a little circle going here. Little arrow. Create more refugees. Why would you want to create 1 billion refugees? Why would you want to make half the population of Bangladesh that currently live below sea level? Why would you want to make them move? Why would you want to make them move to another country? Or maybe not to the neighboring country of India or Burma. Maybe you want to make them walk all the way across Iran, across Central Asia, all the way over to Europe. Why would you want to do that? In order to get tyrannical, right-wing, authoritarian gobshites like Trump and Erdogan and Orban into power, because you go, oh well, look at all these refugees. We'll stop the refugees coming in, and then you can vote for me because I'll stop the refugees because I have simple solutions to complex problems. And then they get into power and keep doing these arrows, right? Who do they give money to? Subsidies from the taxpayer. $1 billion in America was given not to an oil company, but to a company that makes wind turbines from France. $1 billion was given by the Trump administration a few weeks ago to a French company that makes wind turbines to not make wind turbines. So you've got to imagine how much money they're getting from the oil companies to be able to pay a bribe like that, to make it worth their while to pay a bribe like that. And authoritarian governments relaxed restrictions on where oil can be drilled. They're much more corrupt and corruptible. You look at regimes like in Nigeria, where the Niger Delta has been completely fucked by the oil companies. Absolutely fucked. There is terrorism going on in Port Harcourt. And the reason why that's happening in the Niger Delta in Nigeria is because the oil pipelines that they have over there are fucked because they have no regulations, they have no safety features, they don't need to be, maintained or anything. They're leaky as fuck. They leak the most disgusting, dirty bunker crude oil all over the Niger Delta, killing any kind of sea life and destroying the livelihoods for fishermen. And what do fisher folk do when they have no livelihood from the fish? Because, I don't know, there's oil in the water in Port Harcourt, or maybe the Chinese dredgers came and took all of the fish away from the shallows around, I don't know, Somalia. What do? Well, they're standing around. They can easily get hold of a couple of AK-47s and they've got a boat. What do you think happens? Yeah? But then that feeds from the governments, these corrupt governments that get put into place because of corruptible governments that get put into place. They give money to the oil companies. So the oil companies win, 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 all the way around that circle. Win, 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 win. Do they just make more fucking money? I don't have the vocabulary to adequately explain how evil these oil companies are. You think about all the worst villains ever in cinema history, and the oil companies are somehow worse than that. Somehow worse. More amoral, more psychotic, more wanting the destruction of the planet for profit. At least the James Bond villains like Drax up in his space station in Moonraker, at least he was like, well, humans have had the good innings, but they're not treating the world very nicely, so we're going to get rid of them all and let nature take over. At least he had an ideology beyond making money. I mean, look at Auric Goldfinger. He just wanted to increase the price of gold because he had lots of gold. So if he irradiated all the gold in Fort Knox, then the price of gold would go up. I mean, there's still gold mines, mate, in Papua New Guinea and South Africa. But, I'm sure, go with God, You make sure that the price of gold goes up. And Superman, Lex Luthor, he tried to create an earthquake to put the whole of the east coast of, the west coast of America in the water. Tried to do that. He actually did that. And then Superman went back in time somehow by flying around the earth really quick. And reversed it, which I thought was a bit of cop-out. A bit of a cop-out there. Bit of a cop-out, Superman. Writers of Superman. But, even those evil motherfuckers who were doing evil fucking things in movies for fucking money, nowhere near as evil as the oil companies. Suzanne Casey, $2. Thank you for the $2. Just get it wet and then ignite. That'll fix it. says Suzanne Casey. Yeah, that'll fix it. Clean coal, that's just diamonds. You compress it to the point where it stops making a mess everywhere. But at scale, lol. Well, yeah. Literally the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. Extra facet, climate, refugee, pushes populations towards the poles. It actively makes polar restriction release appealing. Yeah, and also that is very true. It pushes them towards the voting polls as well. But you when it comes to the fash. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But the thing is, the soil is shite. Even if they had really, really, really good sunshine days, and we could have harvests in fucking North Russia and northern Canada, the soil, the quality of the soil is fucking shite. The amount of fertilizer it will require, but then again, fertilizer that relies on oil, as we're learning from the fact that there's a big fertilizer shortage because of Trump's actions in Iran. But yeah. So yeah, I'm angry, but not because I was wrong, but because I was right. And for the last 20 years, honestly, if you read any of my blogs or read any things I put online, I've been like, carbon capture sounds like a bit of a fucking con. That sounds like a fucking con. And I'm just a layman. I'm not a PhD fucking physicist. I don't have a PhD in fucking chemistry or in biology or mathematics. I've never studied this shit. I've never drilled ice cores in the Arctic or put up weather balloons or tracked ships crossing the Atlantic to see what the temperature of the water is. I've never done any of that research. I just looked at it and went, apparently this is an ADHD trait, one of the many, that you look at something and you just go, nah. Like the instant, you meet someone new and you're just like, nah. And then years later, people are like, oh, you know that person who you didn't like from the start? And you're like, yeah. And like, oh, they turned out to be a twat. And you're like, oh, fucking, really? Funny that. Anyway, but what BECCS was supposed to be, you know, the sort of fairy tale, this bioenergy with carbon capture and storage. That's what it sounds. That's what it was. That's what it was, right? The idea. It sounds clever. It sounds scientific, you know. The idea is you grow plants, grow trees. They absorb CO2 as they're growing. You burn those plants for energy. You capture the CO2 from the smokestack and store it underground. Boom. Negative emissions, right? In theory, you're removing carbon from the atmosphere while generating power. In theory, you can overshoot climate targets and fix it later. But here's the thing, right? Climate models didn't just include BECCS. They depended on it. Governments, corporations, institutions built entire net zero strategies based on a technology that at the fucking time didn't fucking exist, or at least didn't exist at scale. It wasn't, it's not that it wasn't ready yet. It just didn't fucking exist. In the same way that fucking hydrogen powering cars and buses and trains doesn't fucking exist. You might be able to get a working model with the tiny amount of hydrogen that you can actually get hold of. But first of all, hydrogen's not going to be fucking made with green methods. It's going to be made with hydrocarbons. Absolutely, 100%. But secondly, there's no way of scaling this shit up. There's just no way of scaling this shit up. There was a carbon capture fucking place up in Iceland or something. It was like, it was like less than a fraction of 1% of the fucking carbon emissions. Not of the world, of fucking Iceland. Never mind. And it's just like, you're looking at it going, are you fucking kidding me? It's like seeing someone down at the water with a fucking thimble, pouring it out and going, I'm emptying the ocean. And you're like, oh, fucking good job. Yeah, I got this huge government subsidy to fucking empty the ocean with a thimble. Governments, corporations, institutions, for something that they built the net zero strategy on something that doesn't fucking exist. Didn't exist. And still doesn't, by the way. This is the joke. It still doesn't fucking exist. In the early 2000s, this nonsense, right? It was a theoretical idea in academic circles. Basically, a thought experiment about paper mills and earning carbon credits. Carbon credits, another form of greenwashing bullshit. You get these billionaires who own a forest, and they're like, "Well, if you give me extra money from the taxpayer, give me some taxpayers' money, and I won't cut down my forest." Eh? I mean that's not a subsidy. That's extortion. Oh, that nice forest I've got there. Wouldn't want anything to happen to it, eh? Better pay me. Jabba jabba jabba. Give me money. Hubba hubba hubba. Motherfuckers. In the mid-2000s, climate modelers go, this helps us look at our numbers better. But then by 2014, there was an IPCC report, and suddenly BECCS was everywhere. It was baked into pathways that were supposed to be used to keep warming under control. And instead of cutting emissions fast enough, we assumed future generations would clean up the mess with future tech that didn't exist and will never fucking work because it breaks the second law of thermodynamics, which I think someone alluded to in the chat a little while ago. It's like it's like maxing out your credit card and saying, "Oh, it's all right. I'll build a money printer in 2045," and everyone's just looking at you going, I mean, this technology is as much bullshit as a perpetual motion machine. It's just something that can't work. It's something that can't fucking work. David Faulkner, 38 Hong Kong dollars. Took an electric taxi from Hong Kong to Guangzhou, Canton province over Easter, about 1 hour, around 100 kilometers, £15. cheaper than fuel. Electric vehicles are the future. Yeah. I keep saying this, David. Thank you very much for the money from Hong Kong, all the way from Hong Kong. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, it costs us £3 to fill the car with energy, to fill the car with electricity here, because we're on a special octopus tariff. And yeah, £3, friends. £3 for a family of 4. If we take the fucking train, it's £100 each. Even for the kids, £400. If we still had our diesel car, it would cost over £100 now to fill the fucking diesel car. £100. I mean, that would get us to Liverpool and back, and then a bit. But I mean, you know, getting there, £3. But then get to me mum's, plug it in at me mum's, just plug it into the normal fucking household power, and it comes up on our energy bill like a tenner. Okay, there you go, mum. Here's a tenner. She's not even on a special tariff. Talking of special tariffs, as I said, I was going to say a bit of good news. So what's going to happen over this summer is that anyone who's an Octopus customer and a few other energy suppliers, they're going to, I assume, get a ping in their phone in the morning saying, hey, listen, if you want to charge your car or run your dishwasher or iron your clothes between, let's say, 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock today, we've got loads of sunshine, we've got loads of wind power. So, you know, go nuts, and we'll charge you fucking buttons for it. So if you're on a smart meter and you're on a smart tariff and whatever, and there is a very, very good chance that this summer we will hit the most amazing milestone a little bit early, which is fucking fantastic. Well, I mean, it's too late for a lot of things, especially when we talk about biodiversity loss, but it will be a wonderful moment. There is a very good chance this summer that we will have a day where all of our power comes from renewables, or at least green energy, because some of it will come from nuclear. All of it. There won't be any. There's no coal in the mix anymore. There hasn't been for a few years. No oil, no gas. Carbon free for the day. In terms of stuff getting burned, I am aware that carbon is used in the making of things, okay, and the moving of things to places, and yeah, I understand that. But as it'll stand this summer, we're looking, if we have some really sunny days, they don't have to be hot, by the way. In fact, solar panels become less efficient when it's hot. That's why solar panels are actually better in temperate climates. And you think, well, you know, the sun's behind a fucking cloud most of the time in the UK. It doesn't matter. But solar panels have become more and more efficient over the last 15 years. They've also gone down in price in the last 15 years since the original solar panels, which I've now replaced, but the original solar panels that were put onto the house that I have in Panama before I moved there, they've gone down in price 90%. 90%. Which happens with all new technology. We talked about this. We said when DVD players came out, they were like 20 grand. They were like 2 grand. And then within 2 years, they were 20 quid. Anyway, let's talk about Drax. Talking about Bond villains in space. Drax, named after the Drax family, the slave trading Drax family. I think Richard Drax is a Tory MP, or was a Tory MP. Slave trading family. They made all their money from trading slaves. Evil motherfuckers. And they're the family that I believe that Ian Fleming named the villain from Moonraker after the Drax, one of the Drax kids who he went to school with, I think, in Eton. He named Goldfinger after the guy who designed the Trellick Tower because he's a twat. And Goldfinger, Erno Goldfinger, was an architect that he did not like. I don't like him either. Yeah, true story. Anyway, the Drax Group, based in North Yorkshire. It was once a coal plant, and then it was rebranded as Green Energy. But the reality, so they were burning the wood pellets. So they took away the coal and they started burning wood pellets instead. In reality, they've burned millions of tons of imported wood pellets. Call it renewable. Claims that future carbon capture will make it negative emissions. Right? What actually happens is the plant burns trees today. The carbon capture bit, not happening. Never happened. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. They said for years, yeah, we'll capture that carbon. No, they just fucking burn it. Like you do when you're having a fucking bonfire in the back garden. Do you know what I mean? Just fucking burn it. Plans have been quietly shelved. Well, they have been quietly shelved, but we want to make a noise about it. Because these lying pieces of shit took billions from the taxpayer in this country, billions in subsidies for this bullshit fucking tech that they said, oh, we're going to capture the carbon, They're not capturing the carbon. And I don't think they ever intended to capture the carbon, to be honest with you. These fuckers just wanted to take our money off us. So they take our money in terms of subsidies from the government, from the Tory government at the time. And also they take money from the money that we pay for our energy bills. That they're making billions out of for this former slave trading family. These fucking old Etonian fucking gobshites. And we've got a wood burning fucking power station pretending to be a climate solution. Here you go, here's the climate solution. What are you going to do? What? We're going to burn all the trees. Sorry, you're going to burn all the trees. We're going to burn the trees. That's a climate solution, isn't it? No. Let's be very clear. Burning wood releases more CO2 per unit of energy than gas. Yeah, it's dirtier than gas. Probably not as dirty as coal, but certainly dirtier than gas. More carbon polluting than gas. And the trees that you've cut down, they were storing carbon. So you've taken the stored carbon out of the fucking tree and fucking burnt it. What do you think happens to the stored carbon when you burn a tree? It fucking escapes. And then promise to capture it later. Once it's in the fucking sky, once it's in the fucking air. This is not climate mitigation. This is fucking climate vandalism on a biblical scale. And the physics are brutal about this. You lose carbon at every stage of the process. If you have biomass and you say you're going to capture the carbon, but the reality is you're harvesting forests, that uses carbon. The soil disruption releases carbon. The transport emissions uses fuckloads of burns the dirtiest oil imaginable. Bunker oil is what they use on the ships that are currently going around the world. Don't forget with energy on board, with this disgusting black toxic oil that kills and destroys every environment it's released onto. It is Black Death. Maybe we should just rename oil Black Death. Can we call it that? Can we call it Black Death? Because that's what it is. Kills everything. Covers seabirds when they have an oil slick, don't they? When an oil container fucking gets blown up, that's a bit of a fireworks show, isn't it? Black Death. That's what it is. And these ships going around the world, they use bunker oil and they spin it themselves. They have the thing on board to basically take out the fuel that they need, right, from the bunker oil, from this dirty crude oil that they store. And do you know what they do with the leftover dirt, filth, carbon? Just tip it overboard. You're in international waters. That's your standard practice, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think they stop off somewhere and club some seals along the way. But, it's not far off. They just dump it in the fucking water. And 50% of the boats going around the world are transporting fucking oil or coal or gas. So if we transition to Green New Deal, we can reduce the number of ships on the sea by half. By half. I mean, we're still going to need container stuff coming around, but we're looking now towards getting efficient electric ships, which I've made a joke for ages about. If only they could have like wind powered ships. Maybe they could put up something like a big sheet, call it like a sail or something, and it could capture the wind, right? And it could propel the ship forward. Any chance of confetti before I go? Oh, very high chance, Sid. We only need one more super chat and then we can create the confetti. Joe is saying, how's it going? Thank you very much for the super sticker there, Joe. Unfortunately, the super sticker, thank you so much, Joe. That doesn't actually count towards the it's still on 4 out of 5. That's really annoying. That is so annoying that it doesn't actually. Sorry, it doesn't count. It should. I mean, theoretically, if they're dumping waste carbons into the ocean, that would make the carbon generally inaccessible, wouldn't it? No, well, it doesn't because of various mechanisms that take place, like the creation of. Is it like the Sargasso seaweed or something that really loves these fucking bits of oil that they find in the sea, and there's other stuff, and it's not necessarily that these things are locked away, because if it's sitting on the surface, or it just mixes with the water. I don't know. But I know that I don't really want fast oil slicks in the water where they just dump all this fucking oil overboard. I think maybe they put it into barrels and then dump the barrel so it goes to the bottom of the sea. I don't know, but it's not good. It's not good for the environment, to put it mildly. Okay, so good news, great news, awesome news, along with our energy bills possibly going down over the summer. Viper Scott has put in £2 for Dizzy's confetti fix. Martin Harrow has put in £2 for Dizzy's confetti fix. And so Sarah Davis has put in £2 for Dizzy's confetti fix. So we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it right now, right here. 3, 2, 1, confetti! You coming to the channel like, what the fuck is going on here? So if we achieve the goal, we release the confetti cannon, as shown. There you go. Awesome. Bloody chat and pop-ups are very frequent this morning. Bloody chat. Hey, leave my chat lovelies alone. Leave my socialites alone. I'll never forgive New Order for dumping Hooky. Well, there you go. He was a good little bit. He's a bass player, wasn't he? Anyway, fundamental problem. It doesn't fucking work. Transport emissions, inefficient combustion as well, and imperfect carbon capture. Even when even when they actually set up the mechanism to capture the carbon, it's 85% at the very best, theoretical best. The result is, though, that for decades, BECCS increases emissions when compared with fossil fuels. Some experts suggest theoretically it could become net negative, but it would take over a century. We don't have a century. We've barely got a decade to avoid catastrophic tipping points, including the end of the AMOC current, and which brings warm water to to Europe, because, as I keep pointing out to people, we are on the same line of latitude as Lake fucking Baikal in Siberia. You know that lake that's frozen half the year? Yeah, we're on the same line of latitude as that. Yeah. Can you imagine what the winter's going to be like when it's minus 40 outside? Yeah. Okay. Remember to wear a hat and gloves, and don't lick the lampposts. To scale BECCS globally, you'll need a vast amount of biomass. You'll need a lot of land. You need a ridiculous amount of land. So you can either cut down forests, brilliant, well done, or you can convert farmland into energy crops. Good luck feeding people. Meanwhile, we're already destroying rainforests for agriculture, and BECCS is like, well, what if we did more of that? I mean, it's not just that it's ineffective. It's not just that it doesn't fucking work, but it's also that it is ecologically catastrophic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just that if it was just that it didn't work, but the main point that I'm trying to stress this morning is it's worse than doing nothing. Doing nothing would be better. And who's paying for this? Because BECCS is eye-wateringly expensive. It requires massive subsidies. And who pays the subsidies? Ladies and gents, who pays the fucking subsidies? We do! In our fucking taxes! Massive subsidies. It requires new infrastructure. It requires an ongoing energy input just to run the capture process. It could triple the electricity costs if used correctly. Triple them. Triple. We're talking about solar and wind bringing down prices of electricity by 90%. 90%. Meanwhile, this bullshit technology cooked up by these disgusting, horrible oil execs in order to create more refugees and get more subsidies from the taxpayer. The plan is to triple the energy costs, the electricity costs, triple them, make it more expensive than nuclear, which gas is at the moment. Can you believe that gas is more expensive than nuclear power? You know, the technology that needs to go into making nuclear power is insane. It's insane. And yet, somehow, gas is more expensive. Who's footing the bill? You are. Taxpayers are. We are. Meanwhile, the companies behind it, the slave-owning companies, the former slave-owning companies, slave-owning Etonian families, they collect the subsidies. They boost their green credentials. This is Greenwashing 101. And they help keep the fossil fuel infrastructure running. Heads they win, tails they win. And this is it, greenwashing. This is the real point of BECCS. That's pretending this was ever about trying to save the fucking planet. It was about making money. BECCS is politically useful because it says we don't. Whoa! We don't need to cut emissions too fast. You know, we can keep burning fossil fuels for a bit longer. You know, that's the whole fucking game. And oil companies love this stuff. They love it. They love it to death because it justifies continued extraction. It delays regulation. It creates an illusion of action. Net zero by 2050 becomes, carry on as normal. We'll sort it out later. You know? It wasn't a mistake. This was not a bug. This is the feature. There's a story today in the New Scientist which refers to a story that I've given the link to in the description of this video, carbonbrief.com. It's BECCS, the story of climate change's savior technology. So well worth reading that article because it's talking about a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about here, but it actually gives the science behind it all. But the big reveal is, hey, the emperor's got no clothes. You know, the flagship projects are failing. The governments are balking at the cost. The scientists are openly saying that it doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work. And suddenly BECCS is being downgraded from this savior technology to maybe one day, possibly, if everything aligns. Does that sound familiar? Because we've heard that about hydrogen every year of my motherfucking life. And I'm 47 years old. I've had 47 years of bullshit trying to be fed to me. Come on, Graham, eat your nice bullshit. Go on, and we'll make an aeroplane out of it. Come on, Graham. And I'm like, fuck off. It doesn't make any sense. It breaks fucking laws of physics for hydrogen to power anything other than a few select industrial uses. It's never going to be piped into your house because it leaks like a motherfucker. It is the lightest element of the periodic table. It's just one neutron, one proton, one electron. Anything you put in and it can get out of it. You'd have to have fucking you'd have to have like pipes a meter fucking thick to try and get it into people's houses, what to cook with? What the fuck is wrong with? What, are you going to have it in people's cars? How are you going to do that, hydrogen? How are you going to... What's the temperature of liquid hydrogen? What is it? 200 minus 215? Is it? Like, I'm going to look it up. I think it's about minus 215. Temp of liquid hydrogen. Okay. Oh my God. Oh, wow. Sorry, I was way out. 15. It was 50. 200 minus 252.87 degrees C. Minus 200. And just to make that very clear, that is just 33 degrees above the temperature of deep space. That's how cold you have to make hydrogen for it to turn into a liquid. Right, you're gonna pump that into your car, are you? Maybe it might be useful if you're fighting a Terminator. I mean, we think petrol's fucking dangerous. Imagine you put your hand on the nozzle, you put it in, and then you don't take your hand off the nozzle quick enough, and something malfunctions, and you've got a frozen hand. And you hit your hand, and the hand just breaks and shatters on the ground, and you're like, oh, that's not good, is it? I mean, just what the fuck? Oh, mate, just minus 252.87 degrees C. Liquid hydrogen, which is the only state that you can really possibly... You're going to have a fucking big bag of gas above your car. You're trying to get this fucking airship thing, a big blimp above your car to store your hydrogen in for your journey, which will only take you about 15 miles. Do you want to talk to me about range anxiety? Get a hydrogen car. Go on. Get a hydrogen fuel cell. Fucking nonsense. Absolute fucking nonsense believed by people who don't understand science. The same people who are anti-vaxxers, same people who think that we didn't land on the moon, are the people who fall for this shit all the time, fall for this fucking woo. I saw a great video by Jarvis. I don't know if you follow Jarvis, but he's fucking brilliant on TikTok. And it was someone who, it was just a stitch with someone who was like parting the clouds with their hands. They were like filming themselves parting. And Jarvis comes on and goes, "What the fuck? If you got that power, why don't you broke a peace in the Middle East?" And I was like, yeah, really good point. But those people who fall for that fucking woo because they don't understand how anything works. So if you don't understand how anything works, then anything can work, right? Are the people who fall for this all the fucking time. And don't feel bad if you've fallen for it in the past, because they have put a lot of money and effort into making people fall for this bullshit. But it is, and let me make this very clear, it is bullshit. Greenwashing bullshit. Carbon footprint, carbon capture, hydrogen fuel cells, bullshit technology that doesn't fucking exist, doesn't fucking work. Carbon offsets, carbon credits, bullshit. It's all greenwashing. It's all set up by the oil companies who are, and let's not forget, paying for all the transphobia that you see in the world right now. Because around 2016, they shat their pants because they were like, oh God, if another Republican gets in, if Hillary Clinton gets in America, then they're going to have a big fucking green transition and then we're fucked and we won't be able to buy, that extra gold-plated yacht that we don't need because we've already got 17 of them. But we need 18 of those gold-plated yachts and filled with cocaine and hookers because that's what rich people spend their money on. And probably old people as well. Filled with swans and hookers. I own all the swans now. I'm so rich. I own all the swans. Oh, mate. So yeah, I know I'm coming across as a little bit fucking antsy this month, but I really am because it's one of those things where it's like when you've been saying something for so long, it feels like a lot like when you've not liked someone from the get-go. Let's say, I don't know, Russell Brand, and then they turn out to be a fucking massive fucking rapist. And then you're sitting there going, yep, never liked the guy. Never fucking liked the guy. Supposed to be a comedian. Go on, Russell, tell us a joke. No neutrons, just a proton and electron. It doesn't even have fucking neutrons, lazy bastard. That is unbelievable. Just a proton and electron in hydrogen, apparently. Where's Mason Windu when he says he's too dangerous to be kept? What? I know it's frustrating, but these don't go to Trumpish honest, matey. Good news, if the temperature is -40, no one can get confused between Celsius and Fahrenheit. Is that the point where it's the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit? I seem to remember that 82. So I think it was 82. Well, Fahrenheit is 28. Celsius, I seem to remember from when I used to do the weather reports when I lived in BECCS. I used to do a radio show in the morning that gave the surf report and the weather and all that kind of stuff to all the people on the different islands and the people on the boats, on the yachts and stuff. It was called the BECCS Emergency Network, the BEN Network. And we I seem to remember because there were a lot of Americans, so I had to get the temperature in Fahrenheit. And it turns out that I think it was 80. I'm going to look it up now. 82 F in C. Oh, yeah, it is 82. 82 is 28. That's 27.7, but it's almost 28 degrees Celsius. So you just turn the numbers around. There you go. And because it was 28 degrees pretty much every day in Bocas del Toro, because it's the tropics, that was easy. That was easy to remember. But yeah, minus 40, is it? That the point where they meet again? They meet for the first time, I think. The word alive was redacted from that quote, Graham. Alive, is too dangerous to be kept alive. Oh, I see. Breaking hydrogen atoms is a different question entirely. IIRC, what makes a lot of biofuels, so anything hydrocarbon-based, work is the energy comes from the violent reaction, breaking the bonds. Hydrogen itself is volatile, but not energy dense. Hydrogen didn't work too well for the Hindenburg. No, it hindered the Hindenburg. Oh, the humanity. Oh, the manatees. I'm old. Where's my fucking riches? I don't drive an EV as I can't fucking afford one, says David Peacock. Yeah. I mean, that's going to come down as well, though. Like with solar panels. I mean, the price of solar panels come down 90%. And also, when flat screen TVs first came out, I spoke about this before, but CRT televisions, right, were really fucking expensive to make, right? Because you had to blow the glass and they had to be perfect. You had not a speck of dust, a grain of sand in the glass. If they did, they had to smash up the glass and then melt the glass and then try and do it again, right? So the failure rate in the factories that were making these TVs was very high. Obviously, the TVs were very resource intensive to make, lots and lots of parts. Whereas an LED TV or an LCD TV is LED TV is a lot more energy efficient, not just to make but also to run. It's why you can run it off a DC power. You don't need to have the big electricity going in. But for a long time it was cheaper to buy a CRT television, even though they were more expensive to make than a flat screen television, because it was new technology. But then eventually, because it was cheaper to make the flat screen TVs, they've come down in price massively, and you can get a really good smart TV now for like 300 quid, like a massive fucking 87-inch fucking monitor for TV for like 300 quid from the middle of Lidl. Like it's crazy cheap now, crazy fucking cheap, which is wonderful, awesome, exciting, amazing. But the same thing's going to happen with the cars. It's happened with the solar panels. It happens with all the new technology. It happens with DVDs. The price will come down, and there's more used cars, more used electric cars coming on the market. But one of the main things is they're cheaper to make, a lot cheaper to make. Because if you think about an internal combustion engine, it's got like 20,000 fucking moving parts in it. You know, an internal combustion engine is a very, very difficult thing to fucking create, and also it's a very difficult thing to maintain because there's so many things to go wrong. You got your alternator, you had your carburetor, now you got fuel injections, now you have your manifold, you got your pistons, you've got your camshaft, you've got your the whole of the the radiator, the oil that you need to put in. You don't need to put in oil in an electric car. It's fucking great. Just let it run. Just let it run. You don't have to be topping up the fucking radiator every fucking day in the summer. It's not going to overheat. You're fine. Well, if it does, you're fucked. You have to get out of the car very quickly because it's going to go on fire. But as long as that doesn't happen. Did you see there was a way of what they're going to start spending money on, right? There's a car on fire, an electric car on fire, rather than trying to put it out with water by spraying it, because it takes about 5 times the amount of water to put out an electric car that's on fire than it does to put out an internal combustion engine car. So what the suggestion is, and I think this is genius, is you turn up with, imagine a dump truck, but it's full of water, right? And then it's got a crane on a grabber, like you've got in a scrapyard. And the grabber comes over, grabs the burning car, lifts it up, and literally just drops it into the water. Well, places it into the water. You don't want the water splashing everywhere, but it places it into the water. And if the entire car is submerged, then the fire will go out because it's starved of oxygen. Cool, eh? Cool. Yeah, I thought that was cool. So you're going to start seeing some more of them in the future, where you just, the car's on fire, pick it up, put it in the back of the thing. Anyway, recovery companies have a portable tank. Bought my first flat screen with 10-year service bonus at Sony. Those things were heavy compared with today's ones. Yeah, but the manufacturing has got a lot easier, and that happens, when you scale it all up. And obviously all the big car manufacturers are shifting to EVs now, and they're selling very, 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 very well, especially over the last month or so, because of Trump's invasion of Iran and the price of oil going over $100 a barrel. Which company made that hypnotic advert where the components of a car were on display and each bit in turn touched the next one? It was Honda. It was one of those amazing Honda ads, wasn't it? I know what you mean. It's like a Rube Goldberg machine, wasn't it? It was like a OK Go video. But yeah, works until someone's in the car, says Emma. Yeah, make sure the passengers get out the car. Well, they survived the fire, but then they drowned in the back of the tank. Yeah, yeah, true. We used to hit the telly on the side to make sure the picture came back. Lol, my dad was a skinflint. Well, yeah. Well, my dad was a radar technician in the RAF, and he used to say that there was there's technicians who knew what was wrong, and there was the technicians who could replace the part that had gone faulty, and then there were technicians who just knew where to hit the damn thing. And I think he was one of the hitters. They just hit it. But yeah, just want to point out that EVs are far less likely to catch fire than ICE vehicles. Yes, they are, Benjamin. That is very true. But obviously, there's a lot of memes going out there going, oh, they don't catch fire all the time, which they actually fucking don't. But yeah, when you're not putting incredibly explosively flammable liquid into your electric vehicle every fucking day, are you? I'm hungry, says Elle. Probably have another bloody sandwich. No variety. May cook meat this time. Think about it. Don't have a bloody sandwich. Are you a vampire? A sandwich of blood. Are you having a blood sausage? Are you having some black pudding on your sandwich? Okay, interesting. Anyway, so the Emperor's got in the clothes. The flagship projects are failing. Drax has not done any carbon capture at all. The governments are not happy about this, the cost of it all, and this downgrading from savior technology to maybe one day, possibly if everything aligns in 100 years. You know, funny that, because for 20 years it's been treated as a fucking certainty by dickheads who don't know what they're fucking talking about. And you know what? This ties into one of the big problems in politics. Is it's very easy to get politicians on board with your crackpot schemes. You just need enough money to put forward a flash presentation, to pay for lobbyists to drip poison in the ear of those in power and say, hey, we've got a simple solution to this complex problem. And you know what? The simple solution to this complex problem also involves me making lots of money. Money. That's that's Nigel Farage's political fucking philosophy in a nutshell. What does Nigel Farage stand for? What does he stand for? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No ideology at all behind that party. What we should have been doing is the actual solution has been staring us in the face the whole time is, okay, make this very clear, what we need to do, right, is we need to stop burning fossil fuels. Scale up wind, solar, storage, grid infrastructure. Protect forests instead of burning them. Reduce consumption where necessary. None of this is sexy, but none of it allows the politicians to kick the can down the road and say, well, do you know what? There'll be some magical solution in the future when it presents itself, But you know what? It fucking works. It absolutely works. You know what works? The ultra low emissions zone, ULEZ, in London. The emissions in London have gone down to their lowest level since the beginning of the automobile. And now kids are living healthier lives. There's less cases of asthma in London because they brought in this carbon scheme to make sure that if you had a big polluting vehicle, you had to fucking pay. If you didn't have a polluting vehicle, you didn't have to pay. Fucking awesome. It fucking works. It saves people's lives. It saves children's lives. We know it works. As you can see, it's working. Another milestone that we've hit is last year we used less coal than we had ever done since before the Industrial Revolution. I think nearly 200 years, was it? Less coal. I think it's like the least amount of coal we've used since records began. Because people used to burn it in their homes, didn't they? It wasn't just industry. People used to burn it in their homes. People don't burn it in their homes anymore. Fucking wonderful. Good. It's a filthy, dirty, horrible fucking way of creating energy. We have clean, efficient ways of creating energy that don't involve sending some Argentinian miner down into the ground for 12 hours a day. We can do it. We've got the technology. Energy sovereignty. But what really pisses me off is they knew, all these fucking arseholes who put forward this carbon capture bullshit, they knew that it didn't work from the start. This is the part that really bores my piss. Scientists have been flagging these issues for years. Experts have warned about land use, about timelines, about cost, feasibility, the second law of thermodynamics. And what did corporations and governments do? They built their entire climate strategy on something that not only didn't work, but they knew it wouldn't work. because it was convenient. It kicked the can down the road. It delayed the hard decisions. It protected profits for the oil companies, and don't let anyone tell you this was an unfortunate mistake. This was a choice. This was a choice to gamble our future on a technology that barely exists, a choice to pretend that we have more time than we actually do, a choice to lie to you, to me, to the people of this country, to the people of this planet, and say, oh, we've got this magical fucking way. We're gonna ride on magical broomsticks up in the sky, and that's gonna create fucking clouds, and that will reflect the sunlight back into the crackpot bullshit. This is like when, you know, when like Tomorrow's World would do a silly fucking segment about some dickhead who's created a perpetual motion machine in the garage, and like, why are you giving time to this gobshite? Why are you giving time to this fucking crackpot who has created something that defies the laws of physics? You know, or quickly rewrite all the physics books. This fella in his garden shed is, you know, why are you wasting it? When Horizon went shit? Do you remember when Horizon was good? Do you remember when Horizon was just one of the best shows on television? I don't know if you're as old as me, but it was fucking fantastic. They used to take these scientific discoveries and treat them like murder mysteries, and they would just like they'll set it up with this like really, really intriguing premise, and then they would drip feed you clues of how it all came together over the years and what scientists were involved, and then it came to the conclusion. God, it was a satisfying show. Even as a small child, I fucking loved watching Horizon, BBC Two. I think it was Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, whenever it was. Fucking brilliant. And then they started getting some posh, privately educated knobhead like Alan from fucking QI to turn up and go, oh, what is gravity? And then people would go, gravity is when you... And it was like Philomena Kunk, but not funny. It was just shite. And Philomena Kunk just sort of took that and ran with it with her moments of wonder, because it's exactly what Horizon had turned into by the end. Just fucking, you know, pop science for dickheads. But when they used to treat us like grown-ups, it's a thing that Ben Goldacre, who used to write the bad science column for The Guardian, always used to rail against, is when you talk about science in the news, it's always got to be dumbed down, hasn't it? Always got to be like, well, the thing is, and they never treat people who are like science literate, not even just science, but science literate, with the respect that they treat people who know that what the economic pages say, you know, about the stocks and shares indexes going up and down. If you don't know anything about the financial markets, those pages are gibberish to you. It doesn't have a beginner's guide. It doesn't come up as a fucking headline saying, boffins have discovered that this particular share is going to go up in value, so you must put money on this share and it will go. Do you know what I mean? None of these patronizing fucking stories, demonizing the scientists who've worked all their lives on looking at climate change and how it's going to affect us all, and calling them boffins, calling them names, you know, ridiculing. This is because all of our media is written by the school bullies, written by the people who used to bully the kids who are into science. And they're the people who, you know, went to private school and just got bullied people. They are professional bullies in private school. This is, I think there's an episode of Ripping Yarns that with Michael Payne and that tears into this. You know, they used to have like a professional bully. Like each year would have to have their bully, and they would have the young kids who would, if you ever read Roald Dahl's autobiography, where he talks about being the FAG of a prefect, and one of the jobs he had was the toilet seat warmer. He would have to go and sit on the toilet seat to warm it up for the prefect. You know, all this bullying that went on in these schools, and they never stop. They get into politics, they get into commerce, they become CEOs, they become these fucking little bully-faced psychopaths, and they continue on bullying like they did in fucking school. Boris Johnson was a fucking bully, but Nigel Farage was a racist bully. Cameron was a fucking bully. They were all horrible. Cameron and Boris Johnson were in the Bullingdon Club, who famously used to go around doing things like burning £50 notes in front of people who were homeless. They used to go around trashing restaurants and trashing cafes in Oxford. Ha ha ha, what a laugh. What a lark. Absolute fucking arseholes. And they're the people who write the newspapers. They're the people who write columns about scientists being boffins and not knowing what they're talking about. And, we're proving the scientists wrong. They think they know everything. They know nothing. Ha 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 ha. Meanwhile, getting money from the oil companies to print this bullshit. So, if you've ever been taken in by these cons, you do have my sympathy because they spent a lot of money conning you. But it is a con. Let me tell you, it's a fucking con. There is no way that we are going to be saved from the scourge that is fossil fuels by burning more fossil fuels. That's just not the way the world works. Or burning something that's even less carbon efficient than gas. We'll create these forests. Do you know what you could do? Maybe grow forests in the arboreal north, where there's not much, in terms of an ecosystem, which they do anyway for paper, right? So do that. Grow these trees, cut them down, and then bury them under the sea. But even that is very labor intensive for something that you could just solve the problem by moving to renewables entirely, 100%, and stop burning fossil fuels. And I'd rather these subsidies that these governments, our governments included, the billions, possibly trillions they've given to these bullshit companies that are selling their greenwashing dreams, these greenwashing nightmares to these companies, to these governments. And we shall take their money and give them to us as big fat subsidies to us to buy electric cars, to buy solar panels, to buy wind turbines for our back garden. That's what I wish. It's my green wish. But yeah, I've been saying carbon capture is a con for years, and it turns out it wasn't just me being, miserable, not being pessimistic, being, being a Debbie Downer. No. I've just been paying attention. That's it. I've just been paying attention, and I know the tricks that these motherfuckers play, because people fucking lie. People lie all the time. They lie to themselves. They lie to their family. Lie to their friends. They just fucking lie. And then you take away any kind of social boundaries where you go, well, lying is wrong. You shouldn't lie. Given the choice, you should always try and tell the truth. You take all that kind of social conditioning out of the equation, and you have a corporation that does it that operates like a psychopath. And here we are. They don't care about lying. They don't care about lives. They don't care about the future. They don't care about your children or your grandchildren. They give a fuck. All they care about is money. Like Nigel Farage, all he cares about is money. That's all he's interested in. He's not interested in politics. He's not interested in bettering this country. He's not interested in making a brighter future for your children. He is only interested in feathering his own nest. In the same way that Trump was never, ever concerned about making America great again. All Trump ever wanted to do and ever wants to do is make money. Make lots of money. And the fucking morons who fall for his bullshit. I mean, they say a fool and their money is soon parted, which is very true. But what I object to is, I'm no fool. Why are you taking my money? Why are you taking my money and spending it on shite like this? On shite like fucking, biomass fucking carbon capture technology that doesn't fucking work. And now we have, a very detailed report explaining in no uncertain terms that it doesn't work. It'll never work. Can you fuck off? And if any politician that you happen to see or meet, maybe they'll be on the internet, you can leave a comment, or maybe you meet them in real life, and they dare say anything about carbon capture or about hydrogen, right? Can you just, you can't hit them in the face with a kipper, which would be hilarious, but you could at least put your hand up and say, bollocks. I'm sorry, bollocks. Did I say bollocks? You're talking absolute bollocks. Stop lying to these people. I want an apology now. I want an apology for lying to me and the other people here. Go on, apologize. You've lied to the person interviewing you. You've lied to everyone here. Go on, apologize for lying, because you just told something that is absolute untruth. That will, if led to its horrific conclusion, result in the painful and premature deaths of a quarter of the planet's population. Is that what's predicted? And here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the thing, man. 1:07 a.m. 1:07 a.m. That was the time BST that NASA gave for the capsule that had been around the fucking moon, the Orion capsule, the Artemis mission, been around the fucking moon, had traveled hundreds of thousands of miles in just a week, 10 days, I think the mission was. And they came back to Earth. Remember that? They came back to Earth. This last Friday night, right? So Saturday morning. And they touched down. Well, they came through the atmosphere at 25,000 miles an hour. That is an insane speed. The fastest ever. I did the next fastest was under 20,000. That is just an insane speed. They came in, the heat shield stayed on, the parachutes deployed, and they landed at exactly 1:07 a.m. British summertime. When scientists can make predictions of the future that accurate, when scientists can look at the weather and say it's going to rain on Thursday. I think Trevor Noah made a funny joke about this, about like if you did that like 500 years ago, you said it's going to rain on Thursday and it fucking rained. You would be worshipped as a god, as an oracle. Scientists do it every day. They predict stuff and it fucking happens on the knocker. I mean, we live in a country where the trains can't even fucking run on time, right? They haven't been to the moon and back. And yet NASA said, no, we'll touch down at 1:07. And they did. Bang on 1:07. Not a little bit late, not a little bit early. Bang on 1:07 because they had crunched the numbers. And make no mistake, a lot of the people who work for NASA has also looked at the climate, because it was NASA that first raised the public alarm about climate change back in the 80s. It was NASA who did that. And they crunched the numbers. And they said, if we keep burning fossil fuels at the rate we're doing, the temperature of the world is going to go up by several degrees. If it does that, it's going to render vast areas of currently inhabitable land on this planet uninhabitable. So yeah, here we are. And this is the fight of our lives. And the oil companies are doing their absolute best to try and distract us from the reality, the harsh, uncomfortable truth of what's going on, which is that the planet is getting hotter every fucking second of every fucking day. I've explained before that the amount of extra energy that we have put into the system, that we've dug out the ground, energy in the ground, we've taken it out the ground, we've burnt it, we've incinerated it, we've formed it into something else. The amount of energy that we have put into the atmosphere and to the sea and to the ground, into the soil, into the lakes, into the rivers on this planet is the equivalent of a nuclear explosion every second of every minute of every hour of every day of every week of every month of every year since the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215 AD. That's the amount of extra energy we've put into the atmosphere, or put into the surface of the planet, that we dug up from underground, that was safely locked away for millions and millions and millions of years. So yeah, really fucking disturbing. Captain Coconut does point out that if you were male and you said it was going to rain next Thursday and it did, you'll be seen as a god. But if you're a woman, they'll burn you as a witch, which is very, very true, unfortunately. There you go. Ladies used to be persecuted for getting it back. Yeah. I prefer Autumn Almanac, written by Ray Davis of the Kings. I love that song. That's a great song. Sometimes, Captain, you had to be in the right position. Smart, commoner, which existing structure, oracle. Oh, yeah, so I get it. So you're either a witch or an oracle, depending on what position you are in society, I guess. I suppose if you're part of the landed gentry, you would be seen as an oracle, whereas if you were one of the hoi polloi. But that's all I want to say about this climate, what's it called, carbon capture nonsense. It's absolute fucking nonsense, and I'm sick of hearing this bullshit. And if anyone starts fucking spreading shit about this on the internet, call them a knobhead and fucking report them for false fucking putting fake things on the internet. Talking about fake things on the internet, we'll go over to the papers now. We've got 20 past 10 now. So here we go. Oh wow, that's beautiful papers there. Beautiful papers. Oh, there we go. Okay, so the Daily Mail. What happened when I went on strike at home and left everything to my husband? Get it yourself. Okay, cool. The Daily Mail. I'm not going to go into what the main story is there for a moment, but just the Daily Mail seems to be on a campaign for like couples who buy the mail, right, and both read the mail to split up. Because it's all stories about horrible things that husbands and wives have done, and about how the dynamics work in a relationship and all that. And it's always really negative. It's always negative. Do you know what I mean? That story is, I went on strike and left everything to my husband. There'll probably be a story about how rubbish he was and he couldn't do anything right. But why is that a story? That's not something that should happen in a healthy relationship. The husband should be doing stuff to help out around the house, and it should be about a 50-50 split of chores around the house. And you see these men, these manosphere men going, oh, you get a woman and she can do all the cooking and cleaning and looking after the kids. And I'm like, okay, so let me explain to you, right? If you're single, you have to cook and clean for yourself. Most people. Obviously, these so-called influencers who are millionaires, they can afford to pay someone else to cook for them and pay someone else to clean for them. But the vast majority, 99% of their people who watch this shit, cannot afford a cleaner and cannot afford someone to cook for them. Can't afford a living cook. So so you got to do it yourself. Got to do it yourself. Is it unmanly to be in a flat on your own and having to cook for yourself? No, it's not, because you got to stay alive. The fuck, seriously. Anyway, so we're going to go back to the Daily Mail here. This is a story that dominates a lot of the headlines today. Southport killer's parents should have stopped him. Damning verdict of inquiry, which also lays bare catastrophic failings by police, social services, and mental health teams. And the Southport attack would not have happened if the killer's parents had done their moral duty and reported him to the police. A damning report revealed yesterday, which is just so grim. And you know what? There's two sides to this. There's the parents, who I think should be fucking prosecuted, right? Absolutely, I'm all for that. But also the way that the social services, the police, mental health teams, right? There's in this headline, notice it says damning verdict of inquiry, which also lays bare catastrophic failings by police, and then it says in the first paragraph, the killer's done their moral duty and reported him to the police. Now, there is an argument to be made that even if they had reported him to the police, not a lot would have been done. And the police and the social services, the mental health teams have been playing past the parcel on blame on this. In fact, the judge in this inquiry has actually said, or the chair of this inquiry has actually said, that the way that they have passed blame, not taking any actual blame for this horrific crime in which 3 little girls were killed, 10 were injured, 10 people were injured. And I think they should be brought to book as well. Absolutely. Everyone who fucking ignored it, they should have their day in court. Thank you very much. And then we've got warnings about Southport killer went unheeded. Inquiry finds the Southport murderers could have been prevented. The killer's parents and the authorities had acted on his increasingly violent tendencies. An inquiry has concluded. Sir Alan Fulford, a retired High Court judge who is chairing the public inquiry, said that clearly, repeatedly, and unambiguously signposted warnings about Axel Arudu Cabana over many years went unheeded, and his autism was often treated as an excuse for his behavior. Trump rolls the dice on the blockading the Strait of Hormuz. Is the main story there on the Times, and also we need to bring in the butterface Trump here. Let's just bring that onto the screen and put it over. So this is the picture here above me of this is what Trump posted on his Truth Social. This is what he posted the day after having a go at the Pope. He posted this picture of himself as Jesus, as actual Jesus, and he said, "Oh no, I thought it was a doctor. I thought it was a doctor because doctors have shiny hands and wear robes." Not scrubs, robes. Because maybe he was a Jedi doctor. Maybe he's a Jedi Knight. I don't know. Do the wash on a weekend and get free electricity. This is what I mentioned today in this column here. Households will be offered free electricity to do their laundry on sunny weekends to prevent Britain's power grid being swamped with surplus solar energy this summer. Now, look, there's a few things to this, right, which I'm going to point out before we go on. The reason why there is going to be a glut of energy this summer when it comes to renewables, it's because we haven't built the infrastructure yet to manage the grid in a way that means the electricity goes where it needs to go. We need to be building more pylons to get the electricity from one end of the country to the other. Obviously, we've talked about how the Greens have been holding this up in certain areas, which is really weird, and I really wish they'll stop doing that. But in the future, this won't happen. In the future, when they can balance the grid more efficiently, they won't need to do this. But at the moment, mate, at a time when we've got the highest energy bills in fucking history, fucking free lecky over the summer. Does that sound good to you? Sounds good to me. Yeah, give us the free lecky. So do the wash your car, wash your dishes, wash your car, wash your clothes, wash everything, wash the carpet. But yeah, there you go. Bella says, like at that point, it should be possible to raise the alarm regardless of parental compliance. Yeah, exactly. But yes, I do think that I do think that the authorities could have intervened and didn't. And they could have saved the lives of 3 little girls. Will doctors have Jedi powers in 20 years' time? Well, yeah, I don't know, maybe. Probably not if that balloon-faced wanker stays in charge of the NHS. Okay, so on the Telegraph here, Trump repents his Jesus stunt. He is just an absolute bloody gobshite, isn't he? Stunt isn't a word that I'll usually use for this guy. I'll usually use another word that rhymes with stunt. But there you go. I just cover his face because he's so fucking ugly. But yeah, all his supporters are looking at that going, yeah, that's our guy. That's our guy there. That's our guy, Donald Trump. I mean, I don't know if he had indulged that much in blasphemy before, but I suppose it is the last of the 7 deadly sins that he had. Well, it's not actually, blasphemy is not one of the deadly 7 sins, is it? Definitely one of the 10 commandments. So yeah, it is hilarious to me to think that you've got all these dickhead MAGA twats who voted for this stupid twat, Donald Trump, and they're sitting there going, "Oh, I'm going to go to heaven." You're not going to heaven, mate. You're going to hell. Literally, if you're Catholic and you voted for Trump, you're going to hell. That's it. No two ways about it. You can have I don't know, decide that hell isn't real. But if you are right, and I know you don't want to be right, but if you are right, then you're literally going to hell for worshipping the devil and enabling him to murder people, kill people all over the world. President deletes post. Saying he thought it was a doctor. During a heated row with with what he called a weak and terrible Pope. Solar power could overwhelm grid in summer energy farce. Southport killer's parents to blame for not stopping attack. It's a story there, obviously. But like solar panel could overwhelm grid in summer energy farce. Look at that. Look at what the oil companies, because the oil companies basically own these newspapers, right? Look what the oil companies want you to believe. Solar power could overwhelm grid in summer energy farce. It's not a farce. It's the fact that we can't build the infrastructure fast enough because the money's not been put there by the Tories because they're paid for by the oil companies as well. So they're blaming the fact that the solar and the wind is too efficient. It's too efficient, so they call it a farce. It's not. We just need to build the infrastructure, which we know works. Unlike carbon capture, which is bullshit, as we've just been talking about for the last hour. Pylons work. We know this because there are pylons all over the world and they transmit electricity. But the size of the cables matters. The cables are not as thick. You can't take the electricity as far because there is a certain degree of energy loss as electricity travels. So we need to have new, more beefy pylons with beefier energy, beefier cables, wires going between them, and that's what we need to build, and we are building them. The government is building that, but calling it a farce. Do you know what's a farce? Carbon capture. Carbon capture at the Drax plant. There you go. Fumpers had previously admitted he is going to hell, or should I say, he was never going to get into heaven. Well, yeah, he has. But I mean, all his supporters are going to go to hell as well, so they'll be, I don't know, hanging out with him. I'm sure they'll have a great time living in shit. Rather than what they've been doing to push people to start thinking of him as Jesus, he went out and claimed it. Yeah. Oil companies run the bloody world. Yep, they absolutely do. Well, they definitely run the Telegraph. They're calling it a farce. We're going to get free energy. We're going to get free energy over the summer at a time when people are really struggling. You know, a time when we have lots of problems in terms of our wage to expenses ratio is a bit shit at the moment. That's why the cost of living is in crisis, because we're spending half our money on rents or mortgages, paying off debts. So that money, instead of going into the community, is going straight into a bank to pay off a debt. Use less electricity in summer and embrace the savings because it's fucking expensive when coupled to the price of gas. Yeah. But you know, we do this anyway because we're on smart energy here in our house on Octopus, and we all you do is you delay the washing machine until it comes on in the middle of the night instead of setting it. You know, there's a 3-hour delay button. I don't know why it's 3 hours. You can't change it to anything else. It's just 3 hours. That's the only option on our dishwasher. But yeah, and then in the morning you got nice clean dishes. But there you go. Anyway, so we've got the Daily Express here. Oh, I'll do this the stupid. Should we do the stupid stories in the bottom of the bottom of the barrel, which is maybe this should change the name of the Telegraph to the barrel, so we can talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. So let's scrape the bottom of the barrel here. Scrapping jury trials betrays Labour values. Okay, farmers, yeah, but they're only blocking them because they're only scrapping jury trials because there's such a backlog. Farmers to block roads over rising fuel costs. Okay, that's going to help. Germans face pay cuts if they rack up sick days, and stars align over Warner Brothers takeover. Hundreds of Hollywood stars have come out against Paramount's takeover of Warner Brothers, claiming the deal to hand control to the studio supporters of Donald Trump will hurt democracy. Which they're absolutely correct about. Hello. Next up, we've got the Express, and the Southport victims' families here. The attack would highly likely not have happened if the parents had spoken up, and now hold them to account for their moral failure to act. Bereaved families of the Southport victims want Axel Ruder Cabana's parents to be held to account for the failings to stop the killers, to stop the killer. Sorry, but also it's not just the parents; it's the people who this guy was reported to who did nothing about it, or just passed it to someone else. Southport murders inquiries. This fight does not end today. Young victims' parents vow to battle for change after report finds killers. Family and authorities could have prevented deaths. It's interesting how the right-wing newspapers have all really centered, really concentrated on the fact that the parents were found culpable in this situation by the inquiry for not doing enough to raise the alarm, but also the authorities were as well. But that's not really mentioned on the headlines on those papers. Whereas other papers have chosen to actually mention the fact that it's the authorities as well who should be brought to book on this. And it's interesting, isn't it, that we have this collective responsibility versus individualistic responsibility. So if you talk to someone who's quite right-wing, they'll talk about, life choices, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. They don't think that people who have addiction problems are real. They think that they're just making it up to get attention or something. I don't know. They don't think that people who are trans are real. They don't think that people who have got disabilities are real. They're just making it all up. And they talk about people who are overweight as a moral failing. It's not the failing of society that doesn't allow us to give us the time to cook, healthy food, or give us the money to buy healthy food, and just allows a diet of junk food, because that's the cheapest way of getting the amount of protein, the amount of energy that your body needs. Unfortunately, it comes with a shitload of sugar and a shitload of fucking fat, which isn't particularly good for you. Try serving on juries. It's frustrating, especially when someone agrees with you but doesn't bother explaining why that happened to me. Do you mean disagrees with you but doesn't explain? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it's very fucking annoying. The worst bit is I've shampooed my hair and I can't rinse it out. Says Martin. Hello, Martin. Hello. But yes, the star here. You're not the Messiah. You're a very naughty boy. I'll just flash it up because you don't want to look at Trump too long. We've got the Pope versus Trump in the newspaper here. We'll have to get the butter. Let's get the butter while I'm talking. Butterface, go and move that over to there. UK passengers abandoned the EU airports in chaotic new Brexit checks. Summer travel turmoil predicted as reality of new border checks bites for UK tourists. This is thanks to Nigel Farage, who took us out of the EU. Nigel Farage did this, so when you're waiting in a queue, remember to tell everybody in that queue this is all Nigel Farage's fault. Please make that very, very clear and obvious. See you later. Take care. Everyone's leaving me. But yes, and then we've got the Pope versus Trump at the top of the newspaper there. And when grandparents have favourites, how preferential treatment is passed down through generations. There was there was a poem by Philip Larkin which began, "They fuck you up, your mum and dad." I would say now it's they fuck you up, your gran and grandma, your granddad and grandma. Yeah. Anyway, so we've now got to the Guardian part of the news. So I'll get rid of my butterface for Trump. Catastrophic failures by state led to Southport attacks. Inquiry finds. Pope says he will still speak out against war after Trump criticism, and there's old Popey there, Pope Leo, who we like. We like Pope Leo. He's all right. He's all right as popes go, I suppose. He's not Donald Trump. US begins blockade of ships using Iran's ports. We've got the Trump versus the Pope and Trump's vagina chin there, so we'll cover him over because he's so fucking ugly. Jesus Christ, look at his disgusting face. We've got in the Metro there, killers' parents blamed for not stopping attack. Again, collective failure versus individual failure. Individual responsibility versus collective responsibility. The only time that these papers are into collective responsibility is when it's the woke blob. The woke blob got to take it, but other than that, it's always individual. It's always individualistic, isn't it? So it's pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. Just eat more healthy. Just you're depressed. Just stop being sad. Let's get rid of Trump's face there. Actually, no, we need to bring it back, and then we need to move it over here. There you go. Pope, this is the Independent. Pope hits back after Trump calls him weak and shares Jesus meme. Unbelievable. Unfucking-believable. And you know what? If he's that demented that he genuinely thinks that is a picture of a doctor, then he should be removed from office immediately. But the American system doesn't allow for that. Pink pilling, trad wives, and anti-feminism. It's time to talk about the womanosphere. Womanosphere. That doesn't really work, does it? Cool. And then we've got Southport killers, parents, and police to blame for rampage, which I have no doubt that is true. And now we'll go over to the FT, and thankfully the FT, we do not need to use the old the butterface Trump. We can actually get rid of that. Can the world take a second China shock? Orban's defeat pierces liberals' gloom. Yeah, absolutely. Cheered me the fuck up. Ex-NATO chief Robertson hits out at Starmer complacency. Lack of defence cash puts the UK in peril. Labour veteran targets welfare budget. We've got the Pope there. Pope defies Trump. First American pontiff vows to oppose war despite president's attack. We've got the news in briefs above me here. Zuckerberg shapes up to meet Meta staff in AI form. Big tech company is building. The big tech company is building an artificial intelligence version of Mark Zuckerberg that can engage with his employers in his stead. What the fuck? Nest Bank's private credit. The National Employment Savings Trust, the state-backed pension scheme, has pledged to put 450 million pounds into US private credit at a time when investors are trying to pull their money out because of credit quality concerns. Fucking idiots. Okay. Solution to NEET's puzzle. Parents and social schools need to better equip young people with character attributes employers require. Former Labour Minister Alan Milburn has warned after an inquiry into unemployment and inactivity in young people. NEET stands for not in education or training. And Goldman's traders stall. The bank fixed income traders suffered an unexpected drop in revenues at the start of the year. Oh dear, how sad. Sotheby's eager for cash. The auction house is offering sellers interest of 7% to delay paying out their proceeds as it grapples with a cash squeeze in an art market that has shrunk 16% in 2 years. Oh dear, how sad. Never mind. Lafarge's ex-chief jailed. The former boss of one of the biggest cement makers has been given 6 years in prison after it was found guilty of paying jihadis to keep manufacturing in Syria when civil war broke out. Jesus Christ. Wow. And then Brussels resists on tech. Anthony Whelan, the new competition chief and former aide of Ursula von der Leyen, has signalled he will press ahead with EU inquiries into big tech despite Brussels pressure. Some good news there as well. There's also a crossword, which is nice. Reeves lures Gulf expats with pledges to revisit tax shift that repelled global rich. Rachel Reeves is attempting to woo wealthy expats in countries such as the UAE to come to Britain, touting the UK as a haven amid the Iran conflict. I think they should be doing this to get people from the US as well. Confessions of a shoplifter to shed light on retail's woe. 15-year-old James, not his real name, has stolen nearly £140,000 of goods from shops in London, his court case revealed. Faced with a shoplifting epidemic costing £1.5 billion a year, the industry is fighting back. CCTV footage tracked James, and he was eventually caught, but the thieves' audacity is hard to counter. James's tactic was simple: walk in, clear shelves quickly, and then leave. Brazenness is a key attribute to good shoplifters. And I think that's an oxymoron, isn't it? A good shoplifter. It's like being a good serial killer. People say, oh, this guy was the worst serial killer in a generation. You're like, well, no, actually, I'm a worse serial killer because I've not killed anyone. I'm a terrible serial killer. If you want to talk about a good serial killer or a good shoplifter, they're the ones who kill lots of people or rob lots of stuff. Pull yourself up, Josh. Kind of depressed now thinking about how my footwear actually has boot straps. Yeah, it's a joke, isn't it? You literally can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can't do it. Wealthy now going to Milan. Milan have read. Yeah, going to Milan. I don't like Milan. Gotta say, been there a few times. Don't like Milan. Not that impressed. Much more prefer places going down south of Italy. Nantes airport last week. Long queue. Did my bit. Many a group of young folk had no idea what Schengen and the EU were. What you want to do is after 3 hours of waiting and having to shit into a bag, just turn around and go, who voted for this? Come on, everyone in the queue who voted for this, can you fuck off? Can you just fuck off? And then we can get in faster. The people who didn't vote for this. Can all the people who didn't vote for this get processed into the EU, which we wouldn't have to do if we were still members of the EU? And I hate the fact that there is a propensity amongst Brexiteers to say, well, it doesn't affect me, so I don't care. They do this all the time. When I explain how it's affected my life and how it's impacted my life and how it's, kind of derailed me over the last 10 years from what I wanted to do and what I wanted to be in life and what I wanted to achieve. And they're just like, well, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. When I talk about people who can't, and people I know who've actually split up because the guy was from France and the woman was from the UK, or the woman was from Spain. There's a story that is just, it upsets me to talk about, which was a couple who had been living here for years, never got British passports. Their kids were British, and they're grown kids now. Elderly. He had dementia, and the mum, and he was from Poland originally, and the dad, and the mum was from Spain, and as a result of having, in their later years, absolute upheaval at a time when things are hard enough, when someone in the family, someone that you love, has got dementia anyway, but then having to claim settled status on their behalf and try and get a passport for them and try and do all this stuff that was mandated by Nigel Farage and his fucking Brexit. It's just heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. You got Zoom parents now who, they hardly ever see their mum or hardly ever see their dad because their mum and dad can't live in this country together because of Nigel Farage. That's what Brexit did. It didn't just, because it created a schism across society, not just in terms of people falling out with their neighbors and falling out with their friends, but also in terms of the relationships, these loving relationships that it either, broke apart entirely or just really, really made very, very difficult. It made ordinary people's lives very difficult for the crime of popping out their mum's snatch in the wrong fucking part of the world, in the wrong coordinate of latitude and longitude, according to Nigel Farage, who had a German wife and a French mistress. But it's okay for him. He's allowed to do that. But you hear this a lot from Brexiters where they go, well, it doesn't affect me, doesn't affect me, doesn't affect me. When we talk about, the fact that you can't go and live and work in another country. Well, I don't want to live and work in Europe. I don't want to retire in Europe. I don't want to fall in love with someone from Greece or someone from Spain or someone from Malta. I don't want that. I don't want that. And it's like, okay, so you don't want that for your kids either. You don't want that for your grandkids. You don't want that for your community, anyone that you know. No more after the same pet going away for, a few months working in another country. You don't want that anymore. You don't want that opportunity. You want to take that away. You want to take away Interrailing. You want to take away Horizon. You want to take away the Erasmus scheme because you don't personally use it. Well, friends, here's the point. Here's the crunch this summer when all these motherfuckers go to their, they're on their holidays to Greece and Spain to fuck things up and eat British breakfasts everywhere they go. That they're going to be standing in a queue of their own making. But I just wish that I could have a fucking, I go in the fast lane. Nigel Farage can, because he'll pay. He'll pay to go in the fast lane. He's got the money to do it. Tommy Robinson can, because he's got a fucking Irish passport, the traitorous motherfucker. He's so British, he's got an Irish passport, so he can just go straight through when he goes back to his home, his cocaine-fueled home in Spain. He can do that. The people who vote for him, the people who follow him, the people who fucking love him and post memes about him, how much they love him. Stephen Laxley Lennon, the fucking criminal fucking cokehead, who's taken millions from these stupid motherfuckers, the same daft twats who put bloody flags up lampposts. He gets to go in the fast lane. So finally, something that these motherfuckers voted for, the Brexiters voted for, is going to come and fucking bite them on their ass this summer. And yeah, fucking stand in a queue. I'm afraid I'm going away to Spain for a few days to go and see the eclipse in August, and that's worrying me now because we're gonna have to turn up at the airport like way early, like crazy fucking early. Colin, we stopped Schengen last year. It felt cool to walk a couple of 100 yards over a bridge, then turn right, going from Luxembourg to Germany to France in a couple. I stopped in Schengen, in a couple of minutes. Yeah, I've been to Schengen as well. I went there with Adam Lee when we used to do the old pubcast. That was great. Do we know what the statement is? Maybe Graham can cover. There's a statement. Well, there's a statement being is the government doing a statement? Who's doing this? I'm having a look. There's a statement going to happen. Oasis have entered the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Don't know about that. What else have we got? Phil Collins, Billy Idol, Iron Maiden, New Division, Stroke New Order. We've mentioned, Joy Division, Stroke New Order, who we've mentioned. Oasis, Sade. Oh, I read that as Suede, but it's actually Sade, isn't it? Sade, is it? Luther Vandross and Wu-Tang Clan. The Wu-Tang Clan. There you go. Acts become eligible for inclusion 25 years after their first commercial release. Liam Gallagher previously dismissed the Hall of Fame, declaring he wasn't interested from receiving award from some geriatric in a cowboy hat. Anyway, and he posted on X, reverse psychology vibes in the area, Oasis, R&R, Rock and Roll, Hall of Fame, Hall of Farmers, I mean famous. And then fan responded, not too good for it after all. So there you go. Nice. Okay, so some bands. I mean, New Order and Joy Division stroke New Order, and they deserve to go in there. But some of these bands haven't done a good, because you're only eligible 25 years after your first fucking single, right? But like, the mad thing about this is you don't have to have done anything good for like 25 years. So your first 2 albums were great, and then after that you just did shit. You still get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Kate's too sexy for stash. What? Stash don't worry, garden grass is medicine to cats. What? What were we talking about stashes? It could be a nothing burger, but trans folk don't have the luxury of assuming that. Sorry, I missed the bit where there's going to be a statement, so I'll just type in statements into Google and then go to news and see if there's a statement coming. Don't know. Someone's gonna have to let me know in the chat. Possibly with the super chat. The super chat, the totalizer has gone back to 0, by the way, if anyone wants to drop a super chat before we go, but I am gonna have to wrap up in about 10 minutes time. Basil, for fuck's sake. Basil. Google 3 countries corner Basil. Basil, for fuck's sake. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, what were we talking about? Schengen. Schengen's in Luxembourg, isn't it? Is it in Luxembourg? I think we went to Schengen. It's on the border, isn't it? Luxembourg. There's a slice of the Berlin Wall in Schengen. But yeah, it's not on the border with Switzerland. Sorry, not really paying attention. Graham, pay more attention. I'm trying to find out what this statement is. Can someone tell me what the statement is? So we just sit here until someone tells me what the statement is. I'll just sit here in silence. Statement. Philipson's doing a statement on the transcode. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. Sorry, Gallifreyan man. I just fucking hate Bridget Philipson. So yeah. Philipson. Scottish Labour backs trans ban in snub to Philipson. Anwar Sadar has vowed to defy Bridget Philipson and ban trans women from female changing rooms if Labour wins next week. Oh, what a fucking arsehole. What an absolute fucking arsehole. Bridget Philipson's speech on school's white paper. Okay. Undermining free speech, says academics. That's from January. Cool. Can you set a Reagan Elite raid, please? Yeah, you have to give me a minute because Reagan Elite puts like 17 videos up on live oncoming. So when I go onto the thing that allows me to do this, and it might slow down my computer because I don't know why it does this, but it sort of slows down my computer when I open up another video. And the only way to edit like my video is by opening up the video. It's really annoying the way that YouTube Studio works, even on my computer. It's much worse on my phone. But yeah. Is it mad? Like YouTube Studio when you're on a computer is a thing that allows you to stream, whereas YouTube Studio on your phone is a thing that lets you look at analytics. It's got the same name, but it's a completely different function. Let me just have a look. Stream settings. Edit. Oh, we've made £27 today. So there you go. I can spend that on a pint of lager. And I've changed for a Greg's pasty. Just about. Redirect. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 Reagan Elite upcomings. 17 of them. Just give me a moment. It's not enough. It's not in alphabetical order. Oh no, this is stressful. Okay. Got it. Found it. There you go. Okay, so at the end of this show, you should be automatically transposed, transcendental meditation over to the wonderful world of Reagan Elite's channel. So say hello from me. I'm trying to find wait till it goes live. No, it makes no difference. It just comes up. So all of the people that I follow, that I'm connected to, because you have to do a thing where you sort of connect each other. So anything like Robespierre or anyone else, or Katie Montgomery or anyone else that I follow, will come up in that. So you get a big long list. The way it just works on this stupid fucking channel. It's not Reagan Elite's fault. It's just fucking YouTube being a fucking boob. You boob, more like. You boob if you want to. This lady's not for boobing. Colin says, watch the HOF awards to House of Hall of Fame awards to Creedence, Blondie, the Hollers, especially Frank Infanti, begging Debbie Harry if he could play with the rest of the band at the Hall of Fame show. You're transing us. Yes, you're going to get trans. Just like dickheads imagine that happens in schools when the kids all get trans. Do you know it's a thing? I can't find this statement from Phillipson, which is annoying. Bridget Phillipson. Apparently, she's refused to meet with women who secured the Supreme Court trans ruling. Good. I'm glad she's refused to meet with them because they got nothing useful or nice to say. Women's rights charity, which it's not a women's rights charity. It doesn't give a fuck about the rights of women. It's not appealing for women to be able to have abortions or to be able to make life choices or to get them out of toxic situations, toxic relationships. No. It's just a transphobic organization. So don't call it a women's rights charity when it's just a transphobic organization which gets most of its money from fucking oil companies, probably. Which aided Supreme Court trans ruling, slams Bridget Phillipson for blocking a meeting. Fine. So, it seems like there's a bit of... this is exactly what the oil companies want, isn't it? So you've got Anas Sarwar in Scotland snubbing Phillipson, who is, she's quite turfy herself, but apparently on this matter, she's trying to make an impossible balance between keeping the turfs happy and not being an absolute fucking monster. And unfortunately, there's no way to keep the fucking the turfs happy unless you become a fucking monster. It's a balancing act that is actually impossible. It breaks the second law of thermodynamics. She mentioned today, probably in the ongoing parliamentary morning stuff, she's going to release a statement later. That's it. So thanks for clarifying that, Bella, because I was frantically Googling while trying to present the show at the same time. That's okay. I love multitasking. All my friends call them 4 women Scotland. Yeah, it's literally 4 women from Scotland. Jesus Christ. Very, very true. It's a very small, it's a small, very well-funded group. Yeah, and who do you think's funding them? It's the oil companies. So we turn on each other and we don't do anything about this thing. Oh my God. Got some breaking news for you from Phil. Telegraph have done a hit piece on him. Oh my God. Apparently. Might be good for advertising. They're doing a hit piece. Oh, okay, they haven't done it yet. Okay. So the Telegraph are doing a hit piece on Phil Morehouse. That should be interesting, shouldn't it? My God. Jesus. I really hate the idea that anyone from the Telegraph is watching the stuff that we create and stuff that we put online. It's not for them. It's not for them. We're not doing it for them. In fact, we're not doing it for the wider public. Well, I'm not anyway. Phil's obviously got a much wider audience than I have, but we're doing this because we want to get the truth out there, which is the opposite of the MO of the Telegraph, which just wants to put fucking lies out there. And Elle says, please, the anti-trans will break the law doing so. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's it. It's not either or. If you please the anti-trans, you have to break the law to do so. And yeah, it's a disgusting group of a very small group of people. But there you go. Anyway, okay. I am going to piss off now. So thank you very much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. And I'll be back tonight. I'll talk to Ollie and see if we do an episode of Geoscope. I mean, we do have to talk about the geopolitical situation and the war in Iran, I guess, because it's been going on. And then we will segue seamlessly into Maximilian's show tonight at 8:30. So if you join us at 7:30, we should be on then. If you haven't already given this video a like, give it a like. Quick, give it a like. Now, quickly, do it. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and hit the bell notification if you are subscribed, so you'll get a notification just before we go online, and you'll get a little notification of what we're going to be talking about, because you get a little thumbnail and a bit of description and fucking, I don't know, the tags and all the other shit I have to do. Anyway, so I'm gonna leave you. That was my chair, by the way. I'm gonna leave you in the safe and comfortable and wonderful hands of Reagan Elite if you keep watching, and I'll see you at 7:30 tonight. If not, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, or 9:10 probably, because it's the holiday still. And until I see you again, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.